ethnic background, but religiously heretical, that they have different teachings. They believe that the Mount Gazi is where the God communicates with the people, not the temple in Jerusalem. So they departed from the strict Jewish ways, and so they were people that were cast out. They were people that no one good Jew would have anything to do with the Samaritan. So when our Lord tells this parable, we have to understand, first of all, the terminology, the Samaritan. The Samaritan is seen as somebody undesirable, as an outcast, somebody who broke with the traditions. But there's this Samaritan, who's a good Samaritan, who finds this man beat up on the road, robbed, bleeding. And this man, not knowing who this stranger is, knowing probably that he is a Jew, because Jericho to Jerusalem is not the territory of the Samaritans, it's the territory of the Jews, that he helps this Jew. And not only does he help him down the road, but he brings him to the inn and provides for him there. And not only that, says to the innkeeper, when I come back, whatever else this man needs, give it to him, and I will repay you. This was a total stranger. There's no intercourse between Jews and Samaritans. And the Lord gives a parable so that it could be understood what it is to be a neighbor. The lawyer is testing the Lord. It says that he wanted to test the Lord. He wanted to see where the Lord understood what the neighbor was. Because the Jews at that time, they had different understandings. Most Jews believe that the neighbor is the Jew, those that have the same faith, those that are the house of Israel. And by extension to the proselytes, those that come into the faith. But if you're not a Jew and if you're not believing in the Mosaic law and not following the Mosaic law, you are not a neighbor. You are a stranger. There's no obligation to you. And so there was a debate among the people at that time. So the lawyer wanted to see, well, where did Jesus come down on that? Did he believe that the neighbor was only for the Jew, or did he extend it to those outside? And of course, the parable speaks for itself. But the Lord says that the neighbor is whoever is in need. The neighbor is the one who is there next to you, whatever their concern is. It doesn't matter what their ethnicity is. It doesn't matter what their religion is. It doesn't matter if they're good or bad people. That all that is beside the point. That the point is that it's a person. In other words, what our Lord is saying is, who is the neighbor? The neighbor is the one who is next to you. The neighbor is the one who has contingency with you in a certain way. It could be for good, it could be for bad, whatever the story is. But in this case, in the parable, that the man was in need. And so the Good Samaritan acted as a good neighbor to this man. He understood that this Jew on the road was his neighbor. A stranger, a total stranger. It didn't matter. It was a person in need. And so the understanding of neighbor then is to extend to the one that is in need. It has to do with attitude. It has to do with action. The Good Samaritan was a good neighbor. He was a good neighbor because he responded to a certain situation there. And he was moved to compassion, as the gospel says. What's compassion? Well, it's a type of love. You probably thought maybe this man could have been a relative of mine. Who knows? Maybe this man has a family and there's no one, he'll die here on the road. But he acted rightly. He acted as a good neighbor. And the Lord tells the lawyer, he says, which acted as a good neighbor? And the lawyer says, well, the one that helped him. He says, go and do likewise. Be that kind of neighbor. So for us, when we understand this parable, we are to understand that we're to be the neighbor to everyone. That everyone is there that is in need is the neighbor. But it really has to do, again, with attitude and action on our part, with love. You can say, well, how can we love a stranger? How can we love somebody that has no relationship with us? That they're not part of our family. They're not part of our religion. They're not part of our household. They're not, and actually they could be somebody that's even opposed, as the Samaritans are opposed to the Jews. And sometimes we are like that. That we define people, and not particular persons perhaps, but we define certain religions as can't be neighbors with them. Certain peoples, certain ethnicities, whatever the story is. And we say, well, how can we be neighbors with such people? Look what they've done historically. Look what they're doing. Look what they've done to the people in this place. Look what they're doing here. Look at the crimes they've committed, the terrorist act, whatever the story is. And so we want to throw out people. Well, it's true that there are problematics with peoples and ethnicities and with religions. There's no problem, there's no question about that. But the concern here is what is existentially actualized. When it comes to the concrete situation where there's a person. St. Amphilochi of Patmos, he used to say that whoever comes on my road, it doesn't matter who he is. He could be a Roman Catholic. He could be a Muslim. That this is the person who God has put on my path. And my response must be to love this person. What St. Amphilochi is saying is what the Lord says in the Scriptures. It's not only the stranger that we should care for and love as a neighbor, but even more so the enemy, our Lord says. Love those who hate you. Those that persecute you, love them. Don't return evil for evil, but love them. And so, our understanding is of that second great commandment. To love the neighbor as you would be loved yourself. This is the second of the two great commandments, but it's the first step to get to the higher step. St. John the Evangelist says, how can you love God who you do not see if you don't love your neighbor who you do see? We can't jump over that second step and say, oh, I love God. Well, first of all, remember what that first commandment was. To love the Lord God with all your heart, all your strength, all your soul, all your mind. Not part, not sometimes when it's convenient, but all, whole, 24/7. But even to get on that top step, we have to go to the lower step first, to love the neighbor as we would be loved ourselves. And so let this parable, let it teach us to be the neighbor for the one that is in need. And to see every human being, not as a stranger, not as someone different, someone that is we don't want to have anything to do with. You see that, what we call today, impersonal neighborliness. That it's easier for us to write a check for the poor. It's easier for us to put food in the food basket to give to somebody. We would rather do that than have to meet and encounter a person that is really hungry, a person that is really homeless, a person that has psychological or drug problems, a person that if we get involved somehow in their life because their path plus our life, it will require for us a certain commitment. We'll have to kind of divest ourselves of self-interest. We have to give time to that person. Are we willing to give time to that person? Or do we say, well, who knows? If this person is in such a condition, whatever it is, it's probably their own fault. Probably their own fault. Maybe the priest might have felt that day. We don't want to get involved with this guy. So the fellow with, the gospel says the fellow with robbers. Maybe he double-crossed with them. Who knows what this man is? We don't want anything to do with him because he comes into our life inconveniently. We don't want to do that. Let us, and each one of us, will meet neighbors. Other persons that will not only be next to us, but come into our lives on the road of life. We need to respond to them as good Samaritans, to care for them, to love them, simply because they are our neighbor, that the image of God is in them, that they are made in the image and likeness of God, and that if we want to follow that second of the two great commandments, to love the neighbor as thyself, this is our vocation. This is our obligation. Lord Jesus Christ.